Welcome back to the Unhinged and Healing podcast. I am so excited to be bringing the podcast back. It's been a freaking hot minute, and seriously, no better way to bring the podcast back than with my lovely friend and mentor, Aymie. And it's my birthday. So it just feels so exciting and the best day ever. I'm super excited for this episode. It's going to be super juicy. Aymie is an incredible coach. She's a mentor. She's a speaker. And truly, the only way I could describe her is like a full-blown activator for people. She helps people stop shrinking, stop performing, stop settling in every aspect of life. Love, relationships, business, everything. Her whole philosophy is built around being wetter and better and the cherry on top and overflow and all of this. So I'm super excited. By the end of this episode, you're going to understand what the hell that means. This conversation's going to go there, like really there. So super excited. Thank you so much, Aymie, for coming on again.
Thank you so much, Terry, and happy birthday. What an honor. I was so excited when you said you were bringing the podcast back because I feel like you have such fun energy on podcasts. And it's like, I feel like whenever people drop into somebody's podcast, it's like you kind of get like a behind the curtain look. You know, we can all be as like authentic as we try on social media, but the podcast just like is a whole other level. So thank you for having me. I'm thrilled. That was such a nice intro.
Oh, well, I truly love you. And I look up to you so much. You're like, when I think about like embodiment, I think about you. Like
Thank
truly,
you.
you do such a beautiful job of walking the walk and embodying the shit that you talk about,
Thank you.
So I wanted to start off talking about standards, living this big, beautiful life, having these high standards, being audacious with like your goals and your dreams. And you help women expand that and step into that life.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about what is the balance? Like, what is the line of like, living that overflow, living those high standards, having that big life, and then maybe a woman having her standards too high and therefore it being a protection mechanism and a wall to keep love out.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I feel like the best way to talk about that from like a somatic embodiment perspective is like, is it expansive or is it contractive, right? I feel like it's so funny that you bring that up because I was just on a client call and that was actually one of the things that came up where it's like, where is the line between I have these standards and boundaries because I am my own fucking favorite person and like I think really highly of myself and so I treat myself really well versus these are my standards because I read somewhere in a freaking bullet point post that these should be my standards. And so if you don't meet them, I'm not going to see the humanness in you and you're just out. The pendulum always swings, right? And so I feel like the people pleaser itis that so many of us grew up and realized that like, oh shit, I have that. And I talk about being a people pleaser in two different ways. Like we have like the overt people pleaser versus the covert people pleaser. And the overt is like the one that we all sort of think of when we think of a people pleaser, doesn't speak up for themselves. It's like, I hate the word doormat because it sounds so negative, but just like never holds their own. But then there is the covert people pleaser. And the covert people pleaser, this is how I would, historically identify. And that's like the martyr, the person that just takes it all on, never says no because they're just going to like hold the weight of the world, right? And so both of those, if we're not upholding standards and boundaries, then when we're falling into that kind of the people pleasing tendencies and the not having our own back, that's going to feel really contractive. But it's also going to feel really contractive if either of those people builds a wall around them that doesn't let anybody in. Whereas a standard or a boundary that you're upholding for yourself is going to feel way more expansive. And also, like, if I ask you right now, can you think of like a standard or a boundary that you once had that you ended up changing because it felt good for you to change that? Yeah. So they have to have an element of like malleability too, because the standards and boundaries that you had at one time, like for me, when I first kind of started my proverbial healing journey and I learned about standards and boundaries, I had to hold way more, I would say, kind of rigid standards and boundaries than I do now, because I knew that if I let it go a little bit, I was going to end up completely overgiving. Whereas now, because I'm so rooted in who I am, I don't need to have that boundary anymore. Like when I was really trying to heal my brain and my negative thought patterns, I had to be so boundaried around the kinds of conversations I was willing to have, because anything could kind of like send me down a slippery slope. Whereas now, like I could have any kind of conversation with anyone. I don't have to have that same kind of boundary. If you want to like go down the doom and gloom rabbit hole, like I can be there, I can hold it, and I can walk away and feel fine. So it's like we also have an element of being able to change that.
That's so good. Okay. I love that. Okay, speaking of contracted, a big part of stuff that you talk about is like pleasure, tapping into your pleasure as a woman. And I have a lot of clients and have spoken to so many women who can't tap into that pleasure. They cannot get there. Maybe it's feeling the pleasure part, but also not even being able to get to the point of climaxing, being able to orgasm.
Yeah.
And so therefore it sounds like their body is so contracted. What kind of impact does that have on their life?
Yeah. The biggest impact that you're going to have in that regard is that for women, oxytocin is actually the master regulator for our systems. Now, you can get oxytocin all sorts of ways. You can get oxytocin from petting your dog, right? Which is like, one of the best ways. So when we're looking at oxytocin as being the master regulator, and by master regulator, I mean for your entire nervous system. And nervous system has become like such a big buzzword, right? We're like nervous system this and nervous system that. And I also think there's a lot of misconceptions about what a regulated nervous system looks like. But because oxytocin is the master regulator for women, which we actually didn't always know, because of course, just like everything else in our scientific medical world, most studies are done by men on men for men. And so we were looking at different ways of regulating. So for women, it is touch, and quite literally being in pleasure. And when I say in pleasure, this doesn't have to be sexual pleasure. It doesn't have to be orgasmic pleasure. Although in my opinion and in my experience, you can pull orgasmic pleasure in when you're like, walking barefoot on the grass. You can, move that pleasure through your system. But gifting yourself that oxytocin is going to be what regulates your nervous system in a whole other level. And when we're talking about nervous system regulation, we aren't just talking about like quelling anxiety or like sleeping better. We're talking about like literally our longevity, right? For those of us that are like the healthy girlies and we're like, being careful about the foods that we eat and blah, 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 blah. Like that only goes so far. If you're eating all grass-fed, grass-finished, organic, every single solitary thing, drinking your freaking, alkaline water, and your nervous system is on a fucking roller coaster all day, every day, like to be honest, you'd be better off getting that regulation happening, which again is not being calm and cool as cucumber all the time. It's actually just being able to come back to center and eating hot Cheetos, right? So when it comes to the pleasure system being contracted, we've got like so many things that cause that. One, we're so overstimulated in today's world. If you think about pleasure, you probably think about sensation, right? Whenever I start talking about pleasure, I'm always like, because it's like that's what I do is like I immediately want to start bringing like pleasure into my body, into my system. But when you think about eating something like really, really delicious, like imagine like chocolate melting in your mouth, like that's pleasure. But when was the last time you ate like that? Like when was the last time you actually like really were like, people always laugh at me because I always do like my food dance because I'm like,
Yeah.
or like I said, like putting your feet in the grass. I'm like, that feels so good. But when was the last time you actually let yourself feel how good it felt rather than being like, oh shit, am I gonna have like grassy toes or whatever? It's like, so we spend so much of our days so overstimulated by, all of our devices. We are literally like running from lions and tigers and bears all day long, except for the lions and tigers and bears are, like emails and to-do lists. And we're literally not experiencing sensation the way that our bodies are actually designed to. When you think of how many nerve endings are everywhere on our body, like we're supposed to be living in sensation, and instead we're like living like this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's like I went to a somatic practitioner not that long ago. When you tap into your different senses, you're paying attention to what you're seeing, what you're feeling, what you're tasting.
Yeah.
But like almost putting like a feminine, fun, flirty flair on it, instead
Yeah.
of like, okay, I need to do my somatic practice and I need to focus on how the grass feels under my feet, but like having fun and being playful with it and stepping into like it feeling so good and life feeling so good. And I feel like that's kind of an embodiment of what you teach is like the cherry on top, right? I think for a while following you and not knowing 100% like what your work looked like, but seeing that like, wow, she lives this embodiment of an amazing life. But is that really possible for everybody? And can everybody get there? The realization I've had is that we all live freaking amazing lives, but it's tapping into that. And the more that you actually tap into that, the more magnetic and the more abundant you are. It's like we already have it under our fingertips. It's just going from living like gloom and doom and being a Debbie Downer to being magnetic and being full on.
Totally. Like we have a choice in every moment. Like you said, it's like are there very real doom and gloom elements and aspects to life and the world? And like is shit kind of crazy? And like yes, 100%. We have a choice in every single moment whether to expand or contract. We have a choice in every single moment to choose fear or to choose love, right? And it is a choice. And like this definitely wasn't how I always operated. Like I very much growing up had like more of a fixed mindset. Like I felt that like these were kind of the cards that I was dealt. And in looking around, I realized I didn't get the worst cards. I knew people who got dealt worse ones, but mine definitely weren't the ones that I would have like chosen for myself. And so I kind of thought that that's just how life was, right? You just get these cards and some people are lucky and some people are unlucky. And I felt that I fell into the second category. And so while I was very willing, work hard enough to pull myself out of that and to change my circumstances, I was very much chained to the belief that that's what it was. It would be like this hard, like grueling process.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until later when I unlocked the piece about like everything happens for us, not to us. And as soon as you change that perspective, which like is hard as fuck, like that is so difficult to do. But as soon as you change that perspective and you're able to take even the hardest parts of life and view them as something that happened for you instead of to you, that puts you back in your power, right? The moment that we find ourselves talking about how something happened to us, we are disempowered. And so I always do this thing where I'm like, two things can be true at one time. Like, let's talk about, like, say, childhood trauma, right? Really hard to wrap your head around that, how that happened for you. Right. And in many ways, like on just a very 3D level, did it happen to you? Yes. Okay, it happened to you. But you can either choose to live there or moving into the 5D and the 7D, the more energetic realms, you drop into a space where you're like, okay, but on a grander scheme, it happened for me. And so then what are the lessons that I can see from this? Like how is it that I am able to take this and alchemize it, literally turn pain into power? And so then what's available on the other side of that? I can then choose to go doom and gloom, negative Nancy, Debbie Downer vibes, or I can choose to look around and see. Like you said, we're all living amazing lives. Like whenever I'm doing something like this, it's like if you're listening to this right now, it means that you either have a car that you're listening to on stereo, you have a phone, you have a computer, like $2,000 devices now. You are luckier than most people in the entire world. You are more privileged than most people in the entire world. If you have the luxury being able to listen to something like this in the middle of your day,
Mhm.
whatever you are doing, like, bitch, you are so fucking privileged.
Mhm.
And I don't use the term privilege in like the weaponized way that it's so often used now. It's just like, can you see that as a glimmer?
Yeah.
Like, wow, we're actually so lucky. And even when shit is totally awry, we're so lucky.
Yeah. Makes me think of a video that I came across the other day, and it actually made me think of you, and I want to play it really, really quick. And it's such a good reminder for everybody. Okay, let me know if you can hear this.
Like filthy rich, like rich, rich. Like the kind of rich where somebody loves you, you have food in the fridge that you need to eat before it goes bad, or you have a monthly payment on a motorized vehicle that will take you anywhere you want to go, whenever you want to go there, where you have a job that pays you a salary or a wage that supports your lifestyle and your travel and your experiences. where you have a community of people that you can call when you need support or to be held or heard or just to laugh or chat, where you have access to Mother Nature. Like you can step out your door safely and walk down a sidewalk, find a tree, patch of grass, go to the river, go to a stream, mountains, the beach, where you have intimacy with pain and grief and loss. And it reminds you how good it feels to be seen and heard and understood and chosen, where you have the freedom and the agency to change whenever you want, to do something new, to go somewhere else. Have you ever wanted to be rich like
Yeah.
I love it. I love it because it's like she starts off the video being like, have you ever wanted to be rich? You know, and it's like, yeah, we all want to be rich. And then
Yeah.
she goes into this and it's like, we all have this. We're all so rich, you
Yeah.
know? It's like tapping into that more.
Totally. And redefining what rich really means. And I think part of us, you know, like we just did the Money Muse program and opening to the receptivity of that. And so part of like huge piece for women especially is like on allowing ourselves to own the fact that we do desire to be rich in like say like the monetary way. And the reason that so many women have like stickiness around that is because actually we're already tapped into this deep innate knowing that like that kind of rich is like just the tip of the iceberg, right? And it's like it reminds me of that saying, the moment that you don't have your health, like nothing else matters.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like all the money in the world
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah. I know what you're trying to say. I can't remember the actual saying either. It's like when you lose your health, you have like
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd do anything to get your health back. That's the only thing that
Yes.
matters.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, I love this. I love this. You've made me feel richer.
The cherry on top. The cherry on top.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, going back to what we were talking about, because we were talking about like somatics and nervous system and tapping into that and like feeling that pleasure and it all being tied together, right? Because you can really tap into the frequency of like feeling abundant and grateful and rich and all of this stuff with somatics and regulating your nervous system. But I know, and I'm sure women that are listening to this, I know that there's so many women that are so deeply dysregulated and have been their entire life, and that's just their normal. And they would have no idea. They've got no idea that they're so deeply dysregulated, and that's what's causing them so much turmoil in their life. How would you open their eyes to that? What are some things that you could point out or tell them so that they're like, oh, that's me. Like, that's me. I need to change.
Yeah. There's usually like a few pieces that I'll like look for. I mean, number one, and hopefully this kind of helps to like remove some shame, but it's like number one is like essentially we all are because we are living in a world that is inherently dysregulating. And so it's like when you start plugging into and realizing that you are experiencing this, we didn't stand a fucking chance. All right. One of the things that I'll ask is like when you get into bed, do you like immediately sink into the bed or do you find that you're kind of like hovering above it? Like every single one of your muscles is sort of like tensed and you're like you are in bed, but you're not really like in bed. And you're just sort of like another thing that I would ask is in a moment of quiet, how quickly do you reach for your phone? How quickly are you like, let me escape my self. Have you ever been to like a space or a circle or therapy or like whatever where somebody says like, can you tell me where you feel that in your body? And you're like, shut up. Shut up. Don't ask me that. Literally like my body speaks Simlish. I don't know. That's one of the ways that we can tell. There's things that I'll do cues with clients. Like if everybody right now, if you want to try to swallow 3 times in a row without opening your mouth,
That's hard.
it's really hard.
That's
Yeah.
hard.
So
So I'm a dysregulated bitch.
yeah, same. Like guilty as charged. Yeah. And like you pointed out, like so many of us have been, I came out of the womb dysregulated. And I mean that like with so much seriousness because we actually inherit our mother's vagal tone while in utero. Okay. So if you're ever sitting there and you're like, shit, like why am I the way that I am? Take a look at your mom. Is she regulated?
Damn.
And this is not to like pass blame. Like I really like to hold the belief that all of our parents are doing the best that they could with the tools that they had at the time, even if they like did a royally horrendous job, which my mom didn't do a royally horrendous job. She did a fucking incredible job considering everything that was there. But at the end of the day, like it was very, very tumultuous for her when she was pregnant with me. And so, yeah, I came out of the womb like dysregulated. And so like my journey towards regulation, like by no means is perfect. I am not living my life regulated all the time. I have simply equipped myself with the tools. And then I've made some of the tools part of my personality, right? And in just realizing that like life it is going by so quickly and that I wanted it to be more enjoyable and that I started prioritizing enjoying life more. And so that can be like a little invitation for you. Like, okay, so we've talked about some of the ways in which you can see or feel if you are like this buzzword of like dysregulated, if your nervous system is a little bit tapped. And of course, there's like the more obvious ones, like are you sleeping? Are you eating?
Mhm.
Like, do you have anxiety? Whatever. But then on the flip side, it's like, okay, can you think of some moments when you're really in enjoyment, like when you're really having a fun time? Kids are such a beautiful example of this. Like, when you just like put your phone down, you're able to be like immersed with kids and like seeing the world through their eyes and like playing, which of course, sometimes what a lot of moms will experience is that they aren't able to do that. And then that gives them a lot of guilt. And the reason that they're not able to do that is because they're dysregulated, right?
Mm.
So then it becomes really, really hard. If you are out in nature, are you able to just like enjoy nature without staring at your phone the whole time? Like, can you just be there? And it's hard at first. It really is because we've trained our brains to be so, so addicted to the stimulation. But like the next time, like it's fucking spring, guys. Like the next time you're outside, leave your phone. Every single day when I take the dog for a walk in the middle of the day, I don't bring my phone. I
Mm.
purposefully don't bring my phone because we are all such little junkies.
Truly so addictive.
So addictive. So it's like,
Mhm.
can you just be when you eat something delicious, can you actually, like you were talking about, like the experience of your senses, right? And even
Mhm.
stopping, there's that exercise where you go like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's usually for if you have anxiety. Well, let's just all make the base assumption that y'all around noon have some sort of anxiety because there's like the endless to-do list going through your head, or like I said, the emails chasing you like a lion. So can you stop in the middle of your day and be like, what are 5 things that I see, 3 things that I can hear, 2 things I can smell, 1 thing I can taste? I did
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job.
So if you like stop and do that, like that's just such a good way to connect, to one, regulate your nervous system, and two, connect into your feminine energy, which is you being with your body, with your breath in the present moment. Fun.
Exactly. I think with the whole, like with nervous system regulation being a massive thing, with it being a massive buzz right now, there's so much information out there around, like, I think sometimes there's a misconception around it in the sense that people think, "Oh, in order to regulate my nervous system, I need to like meditate for an hour
Yeah.
and do this stuff that's like a little bit extreme, when it's like, no, like feel this like fuzzy thing on the
Yeah.
top of my microphone and like really like pay attention to how it feels, like tap into this moment and like get really present and like notice it and like be here. And that's what I'm realizing, is that it's not about, sure, do your meditation, do your breath work, like whatever, if that works for you. But like meditating for an hour for me does not work. Like
Yeah.
I need like the little moments throughout the day. I need
Yeah.
to tap back in throughout the day and have these reminders. When I take a sip of my tea, like being slow and methodical about it and like feeling the warm tea go down my throat and how it tastes and how it smells and like noticing in the moment. Like that's, I feel, regulating, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, totally. I'll just speak on meditation. Like meditation at its core, like it was created by men for men. And like God bless the
Mm.
men. We are not men. And so meditation, I'll find for lots of people, is actually very dysregulating because they spend the whole time sitting there in complete silence and stillness, having the most insane shaming dialogue with themselves
Yeah.
about how they're doing it wrong. I
Like,
took a
why can't I
meditation.
sit here in complete silence? Why is my brain still having thoughts?
Why are you like this? I took a meditation class in university. And I can remember like going to the teacher and I was like, I think this class is pointless. I want to drop it. I hate it. I don't want to be here. All I can think about, all I would just literally sit there doing nothing and think about my book bag. I can literally
Mhm.
so viscerally like feel it. Like my book bag's beside me with like my 1 million hours of homework beside me. And I'm sitting here. And he was like, yes, Amy, that's why you need to be here. It's just like, I yeah. And then he said a haiku in one of the classes one time, and it's, like, embedded in my brain. And it actually did help me to unlock, because I thought the people who were meditating were sitting there truly with their minds empty the entire time, and that somehow I was doing it wrong. And so the haiku is, the caravan passes, the dog barks. And so that haiku to him was like representative of meditation, where it's like the caravan passes and that's like the thought floating by. And then the dog barking is like you noticing the thought, but like that's it. And so what you're looking for is like this tiny little gap in between the caravan passing and the dog barking, or the next caravan passing and the dog barking. And so that did help unlock it for me. And I did my yoga teacher training. And so that's very like meditation focused, because again, yoga created by men for men. Yogic like the postures, the asanas of yoga are actually created just so that you can sit, so that you have the strength to sit longer in meditation. But in my journey working with women, I've actually discovered that I think that for women, it's movement. Like movement meditation is always going to be like, we could use the word regulating, more regulating, more helpful, because the male brain and the male structure is different than the female brain and the female structure. And that doesn't mean that we can't sit in meditation or that it isn't beneficial. But I think as women, like we are really, really, really meant to move. And so like rather than trying to sit in the morning to meditate to set you up to have an amazing day, turn your favorite song on and shake your ass. And I actually think that you will have better results shaking your ass for 5 minutes than you will meditating for 20. I genuinely, like, to my core believe that.
I agree with you 100%. I've been playing around with that a lot recently because I don't feel like I get a ton of results from meditation. I've noticed that for a long time. But when I focus on shifting my frequency by putting on my favorite song and jumping around and dancing and shaking my body and jiggling and moving in whatever like ways feels good to me in the moment, it's like, okay, I feel alive again. I feel so good. I have this energy and my frequency has shifted. And whereas like with meditating, I that's not the case. And if I'm having a really fucking hard day, sitting in a meditation to make me feel better,
you're just going to be sitting there.
I'm just going to be sitting there thinking about it, Like I need to jump around and move my body and let it somatically like move through my body.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I love that. Okay. I want to talk about, I love what you talk about when we talked a lot about this in Money Muse, but you've made lots of content about it as well. The correlation between money and men, because I had never thought about it that way before you started talking about it. And it's huge.
Totally. So money and men, if I say to anybody, like, what is it? Like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Want it, it's whatever money can buy, which is usually like freedom to do something, have something, be somewhere, whatever. And then usually there's something to do with love, with relationships, with, if you're heterosexual, it's going to be with men. So we have that element, is that like, that's because we're just little greedy whores for more all the time. I want more, I want more, I want more. I want more love, I want more money. And then we have the mirror of our internal world being reflected in our external world. So both money and men, like this is relationships. It's the same with business, right? These are all relationships. Like we're actually in relationship with literally everything that we're interacting with in our lives. So we have our external world, which is mirroring back to us our internal world. Whenever you're having an experience with money, whether that is that you are experiencing an abundance of money, which I hope that is what you're experiencing, and it is flowing to you in all ways from all ways, then that is a mirror of your internal world, which has got to be inherently abundant. You are seeing yourself, viewing yourself as an abundant person. You are having abundant based thoughts. If what you're experiencing from money is that it seems like it's really hard to attain, like it's like a really like stop start, that you only ever have like just enough to get by, then what that's mirroring to you is that on the internal world, you're hardwired for survival. You're probably linking like, I work really hard and I get money, but I have just enough money to get by, because you probably see yourself as somebody that's only worthy of so much, only deserving of so much. Then if we talk about men, relationships, if in your external world you are being cherished and spoiled and adored and protected and provided for by men, then that's reflecting back your internal world, which is that you see yourself, view yourself, feel yourself as a highly valuable woman who is meant to be cherished and adored and protected and provided for. Whereas if in relationship you're seeing that external world reflecting, kind of like breadcrumbing, like hot and cold behavior, not ever like fully being provided for, maybe somebody that's like really emotionally distant with you or not showing up for you, then what that's mirroring in your internal world is that you see yourself as someone that has to work really hard for like validation, that maybe you're not ever like fully chosen, that maybe you're not totally worthy and deserving of love just as you are. So we got that mirror, external world mirroring our internal world, which is like amazing data, right? Because it means whatever we're seeing outside of ourselves, we can take that as information and be like, okay, interesting. Now, I'm not talking about like one-off, like random, like this is like some crazy experience, right? I'm particularly talking about when we're seeing patterns. Okay, what's happening internally for me? Then we have like this roadmap. But then the other element is that men and money are mirroring each other. And that's because when we're talking about your internal world, essentially your self concept, how you see yourself, what you think about yourself, how you view yourself, how you perceive yourself being perceived by others, that's your self concept, how you see yourself in the world. That is going to be shown, exemplified in that mirror outside of you with men and money. It's not going to be that different. You're not going to be like, I am so inherently worthy of money and abundance and finances that it just comes flowing to me. But over here, completely shut off. I'm undeserving of love. I am a little crusty crab over here. I don't know why crusty crab came through, but And so it's like essentially ourselves. And so that's going to get mirrored. And then these two things are mirroring each other. So what's your attachment style?
Definitely lean more anxious for sure. Yeah.
So I love to play with attachment styles when it comes to, and lots of people are familiar with attachment styles. So if you're listening to this right now, you don't know what your attachment styles, go find out. But usually when we're talking about attachment styles, we're talking about attachment styles in romantic relationships. And so like the best way that I like to describe attachment styles in a quick little synopsis would be, okay, so you're in the dating phase. You've gone on like a couple dates with somebody and you text them and then they don't text you back for hours. Okay. If you are securely attached, your brain will go, interesting, they haven't texted me back for hours. They're probably busy. And then you just carry on with your life. Okay. If you are more anxiously attached, then you're going to go, oh my gosh, I must have said something wrong. I'm probably too much for them. Maybe they found somebody else. Maybe they don't like me at all. Maybe they actually hate me. And whatever, you're essentially like spiraling. And oftentimes that anxious attachment is going to cause such a nervous system activation that you're going to want to double text them, triple text them. Hey, are you okay? Are things good between us? Whatever. Or because you might like refrain yourself because you read that Instagram post about not double texting. So now you're like refraining yourself, but you're over here like literally giving yourself autoimmune disease with your anxiety. And if you're more avoidantly attached, then your brain is going to be like, well, I didn't fucking like them anyways. I don't even care about them. And that's like a self-protective mechanism, right? Let me get really far away from this thing that is causing me any sort of discomfort. So we've got our attachment styles and how, as you can probably guess just from that little interaction, that's going to show up no matter what stage the relationship is at, whether it's, a text message in the first few weeks or like well down the road, how you're going to show up in the relationship, especially during, time of conflict or times of distance or whatever. We've got that like exemplification. But the thing is that our attachment styles show up with money too. And almost always when I ask somebody like yourself and I'm like, okay, what's your attachment style? You say you lean a little more anxious. And then I ask you about money. It's like, okay, so are you the kind of person that you have anxious thoughts about money? You have anxious thoughts about like how much money you have. Maybe you're like checking your accounts multiple times. Maybe you're, always doing like the mental gymnastics to like figure out exactly how much money you're going to have on this day and then how much you're going to have on this day and then how much that's going to cost and blah, 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 blah. Is this ringing true?
Very accurate. Very accurate.
As if I'm talking to somebody and they say that they lean a little bit more avoidantly attached in relationships, then when I'm like, okay, and how do you usually show up with money? Well, they're usually the kind of person that really doesn't like to talk about money. It makes me feel kind of uncomfortable. Don't really want to discuss my finances. I'd rather just not even look at my accounts. Like, sure, I like know-ish. Like I pay my bills, but I just kind of like do it over here. And this is all nervous system too. So when we're looking at the mirror between money and men, the amazing thing is that they're going to be reflections of one another. And again, it's not going to be exact. Like you can be very, very financially successful and be struggling with relational dynamics, then there's still going to be a mirror, because you can be really financially successful and still have all these like crazy thoughts going on back here.
Yeah.
Just like maybe you're in a relationship that is healthy and happy, but you've got, something going on with that your money flow. And there's still going to be a mirror there, because even though the relationship is showing up well, when I dig underneath to like the subconscious thoughts, there's going to be something there, like that you're always feeling guilty or you're always overgiving, even in your healthy relationship, right? So it's like we've got this kind of mirror here that we're able to see, which also means that when we work on one, it helps the other.
Yeah.
Right. So when we work on that activation, when we work on coming back to center, when we work on, opening up your channels to be able to, like we just did in the Money Muse program, where we're really opening up to money, but it's like crazy, all the women dropping in there that things are happening with men too. Like it's
Hmm.
amazing. And simultaneously, and the way that I discovered this, because I was doing so much relational coaching and my clients kept coming being like, I don't know, man, I just like money keeps showing up. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, brilliant. So we're able to, and that's because actually what's happening is that we're changing the internal world. And so that's
Yeah.
just changing entirely what's showing up on our little reflective mirror of the external.
Yeah. Well, it's all connected. It's all like, I love how you talk about men and money, and it is all connected. Like you said, reflects our relationship we have with everything, like not just people, it might be our relationship to work or to business or to money or to our kids
Yeah.
or whatever it is. And I see that with my clients too. And sometimes it's tough to almost communicate that as a coach, because I work in the world of dating. Like that's the niche that I have put myself in. But it's interesting because when we start working on this stuff with my clients, they start getting job promotions. They start bringing in more money. They start all of this stuff in different areas. They start, feeling healthier, having more energy and all of this different stuff, because it's all related. It is all related.
Yeah.
So,
It's all related and it's all relationship.
mhm,
We're in relationship with everything around us. But we forget
yeah, yeah. You're in relationship with your phone. It's such a toxic relationship.
toxic trauma bond.
Yeah. Yeah, truly, truly. Mark Groves talks about this all the time. I don't know. Do you follow Mark Groves?
No,
know?
I
No?
don't follow any of the men.
Okay. Okay. Well, he's a good one.
I
He's a
know who
good
he
one.
is though. Yeah.
Okay. He's really good. He has made a shift over the last few years. He went from being, more so like relationship coaching. And now he's shifted to talking so much about like your relationship with your phone and technology.
Relationship coach.
He's
Yeah.
fully shifted this last
Interesting.
while because he's realized the impact that social media and your phone and technology has had on you, his own self-discovery. And it's true, you have a relationship with your phone.
We forget that, because in order to realize that everything is relationship, then that puts us in the seat of power. We have to realize how much power we have and that we're actually co-creating every single dynamic, like in every single moment, whether it's with your partner, whether it's with money, whether it's with your business, or whether it's with your fucking phone.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think that when you can step into the energy of like, okay, I'm co-creating this with every aspect, then it's also like, okay, I need to take a level of accountability because I am a piece of this puzzle.
Mhm.
Right. And I think that's where some women misstep. And I want to tread lightly here because, I haven't been in a super toxic, abusive relationship. I've been blessed to have never been in a relationship that's been in that dynamic. But my perspective is that you still get yourself in those dynamics,
Mhm.
right? It's not to put blame on yourself about it. There's still a part of you that somehow gets yourself in those dynamics. And I think it's a tough, almost touchy subject because sometimes the women that go through these really awful, traumatic situations get so guarded and walled for valid reason. But then they go, oh, but it's the man, right? And yeah, he was a piece of shit. Like
Totally.
he was
That you
abusive to
chose
you
over
and
and over again.
yeah. So it's a tough situation because it's like in order to heal and get where you want to, you have to take radical accountability. And that can be so painful because that means admitting that there was a part of you that chose
Yeah.
that really fucked up relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I call that the pain kink. And I mean, it's not just for relationships. We have pain kinks to everything. Like, basically, if you're looking at something in your life that you do not like, that does not serve you,
Mm-hmm.
and it exists in your life, like it's not a past tense, it's because you have a pain kink for it. Part of
Right.
you likes it. Whether you are not making enough money, there's some part of you that likes not making enough money. There's some way that it is serving you. You are getting off on that. Whether it is, anything from a relationship where the guy's just not showing up to you all the way to an abusive relationship. And I have been in an abusive relationship. I was also raised in a household with an abusive man. So I can speak to this, in a different way than you can.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make the differentiation here. Me being raised in that household, that's not a pain kink. That was my mom's pain kink, right? But the me choosing to be in that relationship, and when I say choosing, that's how you end up in a relationship. And so often we like to think that we got like totally flabbergasted, like the rug got totally pulled out from underneath us, and like maybe in like 0.01% of cases that actually happens. Like, even, in my experience with narcissistic abuse, it's like there is a period of time where they completely, completely are wearing a mask. And every conversation that I've ever had with a woman, when I really, really press and I'm like, really? Your body didn't warn you? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
They always knew at a core level and they ignored it. I
Yeah.
know I did.
Yeah. I know when I've been in relationships that didn't serve me, I did as well, but I
Yep.
stayed way too long. And then the interesting thing is that like I wasn't even willing to admit that I was seeing the red flags. And I think that's where the issue is. And that's why there's so many women that are in that mindset because they aren't even willing to admit to themselves that they saw the red flags because then therefore it's like I did this. Like I put myself there.
Yeah.
I saw it. But if I don't take any accountability, then it's not my fault.
Is a fair choice to make, but it also means that you're basically destined to repeat
Mhm.
it again, right? Because
Yeah.
without the radical responsibility, without taking full ownership for the fact that you actively, ignored the red flags or like your body's intuition or whatever it was, and you actively chose, lots of women have the pain kink of like desiring to change a man, right?
Yeah.
That is like, it's like fucking built into like half the population of women. So whatever that little pain kink was, however that showed up for you, you have to realize that you're the problem. I am absolutely perfectly flawless, as are you, I'm sure. We're the problem no matter what, right? We're
Mhm.
like I was the problem in my toxic relationship, and I'm also the problem in my good relationship, right? It's like we are the common denominator in all of our experiences as adults. So it's hard though. It's hard to admit that you have a pain kink, and that's like part of shadow work. I always say that I make shadow work really sexy because it's like I'm like, yeah, you're such a kinky little bitch for whatever part of you is getting off on this dynamic, and it's like I'm here for it. Let's just acknowledge it, and then we're able to alchemize it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Okay, I want to wrap up here, but I want to ask you one more question. So, if I'm going to say healed version of you because we're never fully healed, but if the Aymie 2.0 right now was to go back to Aymie 1.0 back in the day, what advice would you give yourself, that younger version of you?
What advice would I give? My initial instinct is to say that I wouldn't give any because I know that she wouldn't
Mhm.
fucking listen. That's like my initial response because that version of me was so headstrong and steadfast in her pain kinks that like it wouldn't have mattered who'd show up because like like there was warnings. But on like a more tangible level, like what would I say? I would remind her that it is not her job or her responsibility to save people. I would remind her that she is co-creating every single moment of her reality and that she has way more power than she realized. I would tell her that there's no part of her intuition that has ever been wrong and that one day that will be made abundantly clear to her. And so to not doubt that. I think I would honor the fact that I know that she has to go on the journey, but I would do whatever I could to encourage her to expedite it a little bit and be like, "You actually already learned this lesson, so you are allowed to carry on, ma'am."
I love that. That's so good. That's so good. Yeah, I think about if I were to go back and like tell my 19-year-old self something, she wouldn't listen either. She had to figure out this path as well. So, I love that so much. Can you anything you want to share at where people can find you.
Yeah, come and find me. I am Aymie Alexandra on all the platforms, Aymie Alexandra. I'm the most active on Instagram, but I am also on TikTok. I have a podcast called The Full Range Feminine, and I work with women in all different areas of their life to just remind them who the fuck they are, what they're capable of, what they came here to do, whether that is with men, with money, with marketing. We do it all with feminine magnetism.
Yes. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on, Aymie. You're incredible. Truly.
You're incredible. Thank you so much for having me here. I was so honored to be the guest for your reintroduction of your podcast. I feel like this is what the world needs. We need a little Terry behind the curtains, unhinged and healing.
She's coming out, baby.
Yeah.